Hello, John.
Hello, Wallum.
Today we're going to talk about immigrating to be loved, a sociological reflection. Migration is usually explained in terms of economics, politics, or opportunity, but beneath these structural forces, there are deeply personal and emotional motivations that are often overlooked. One such motivation is the search for love, recognition, and belonging. For some young people, especially those who feel undervalued or underloved within their own families or communities, migration becomes not only an escape, but a strategy for being acknowledged. The act of leaving is both symbolic and practical. By crossing borders, they hope to cross out the neglect of home. Distance, in this sense, is not geographical, it becomes emotional leverage. The hope is that absence will provoke longing, that being missed will finally translate into being loved. Sociologically, this connects to a theme of social identity and recognition. Human beings seek not only survival, but validation for their worth. When this is denied in the immediate family or community, migration is sometimes framed as an act of self assertion, a refusal to remain invisible. It is also tied to the myth of return. Even if one does not plan to go back, the imagination of being missed and valued sustains their decision.
Yeah,
John Malone.
well, right. You see, from Ireland, the opportunities for employment was limited, especially for men. Ladies can have more of a variety of employment opportunities. Now, so those that emigrate, those that went to England, well, they can easily come back because it's very easy to come back. It's very easy to go and very easy to come back. So England is a different kettle of fish. But if you go to the United States, for example, in the olden times, or Canada, not so much Australia, there wasn't that much going in the early stages to Australia. It was considered too far, and there wasn't enough opportunities, one felt. I think so. They went to the United States, where there was Irish people that had emigrated over the centuries during the famine time, and that to get out. 2 million went, and when there was had to travel by these sailing boats, and President Kennedy's family went at that time from Wexford, and they prospered and become president. So it's an example of the what the opportunities that occurred in that country, and probably opportunities in Canada as well. To a lesser degree, it's still a dominion or something recognised by the Crown in Britain. So it's a different kettle of fish than the United States, who's good. And so people that went there for economic reasons primarily, but also the ones that would be affected by being ignored when they were at home, because it does happen in families. They might have, 5 or 6 or more in a family, and to be favourites, and other ones that would be sort of neglected. And the ones that's neglected, especially women, feel that more than a man. A man can get over it and get on with it to make to get good employment and prosper. That's your average man that either has ability in some way by way of a trade, or has some ability by way of an education that he's able to get on the ladder and climb up the ladder if he has ability. And but the ladies are a different kettle of fish. They have an emotional need, and they're the ones that can suffer if they've been overlooked in the home. And it's a kind of a feeling that doesn't leave them, believe it or not, even when they might meet somebody and meet people that are good to them and all the rest of it, and have friends. But to have this business, how would I call it, being felt neglected. It's strange that it stays with them nearly all their life. And I've known one or two of that caliber, and they didn't emigrate, but they would have left home, and they felt neglected. especially by their mother, and that's the one that's in the home more than anybody.
Yeah, so
So that's my opinion about that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is really, is I suppose, the people who are leaving home because they feel they're not recognized or valued, and so leaving home and immigration to the furthest place of the earth, preferably, um, gives them a sense of, well, they're going to be missed and they'll finally be appreciated, you know. And I have a friend who comes from a very big family, and he was the youngest of a lot of children, and he said that he was invisible, he was unheard of in the family, and he was very had a very lonely childhood, and he went off across the world for almost 20 years. And he thought in his own imagination that they're all missing him back home, and that was enough to sustain him. That finally he was getting this recognition that he was actually finally seen, even though he's far away on the other side of the world. Okay, and so what
Right.
happened was he eventually came back, and he realized what a mistake he'd made. So he came back, and what happened was he had a big family, and he realized that he'd missed out on so much because all the nieces and nephews were adults. And he missed out
There
on
you are.
all their lives because in his own imagination, he carried this too far.
Yeah. Well, that's the danger, isn't it? And because it's extraordinary the way people think, and that's an example of a man with ability and having this cross, self-inflicted in some ways. You know, for a period of time as you're growing up, you often have feelings of that what you're describing, neglect and that type of thing, and your confidence is not as good. It's going to be fine honed on the crucible of life, if you like, and it takes you a while to actually come to grips with what you're dealing with, because when you're in the workplace or someplace like that, you're often dealing with ones that have a jealousy about you if you have any ability. That's one thing that can happen. So, aside from the business in the home, you can encounter that type of thing in your workplace, and it really life is a set of problems, and the sooner that one actually matures in some way, that sort of one says, well, it's life is crosses. Jesus said, "Take up your cross." Now, none of us like taking up crosses, but we do come across them. We do come across situations that leave a lot to be desired, and sometimes we're not able to deal with it, quite frankly. I remember one time I had that experience for a period. I remember shedding tears. I
Well,
was in a situation that I couldn't see the way out. And it was a
wow.
marriage, believe it or not.
Okay.
So these things can happen, and no matter how capable you are, you can find yourself in that situation. So one has to be very careful, I think, in hindsight, is to make sure the people that one comes in contact with are genuine and are on the same wavelength, because there's a lot of people that's not on the same wavelength or anywhere next or near it. If you get me drift, they'd argue with you about anything and disagree, and so you have to just discard the like of them. And if it's a situation where you've been emotionally involved, that can be that can be a cross. But the only way is to just get it out of the way. Forget about the material end of it. Doesn't matter what it costs. Freedom and a sense of self-worth is the most important thing. And that can be damaged as you go through life, aside from whatever neglect you might feel in the home front, be not noticed or something like that. So there's different factors affecting things even as you go through life, no matter how it is, because if something comes your way that you didn't expect, and it can have a bad effect. But once you get rid of it and once you deal with it, no matter how much it costs you, then you have this. You're a different person. You're suddenly in charge. And I've had that experience in my life, and thank God it's been very beneficial all round. And you were the purveyor of good news there recently, and I'm looking forward to visiting this certain party in that neck of the
Absolutely, yeah.
woods. Where,
Very good. I
so,
just want to
like
say that
things can,
I think that look, it starts, I suppose, in the home. There has to be openness in the home, and that the people have to be able to discuss how they feel to their parents, and that's how
yeah,
we prevent these things from happening.
that's right. But that doesn't happen. The parents don't seem to be even equipped to deal with it. Would they deal with it? They're encountering problems in their lives as well.
True.
So they're not able to pass on something unless it's a very united front. It has to be a united front between the parents, and that's not often the case. And therefore, so if they're not distributing it and the way that they should, so we've got to take these are crosses, and when you look at it that way, it's a different, it puts it in a different context, and you're able to deal with it.
So you see, I mean, I met a young lady at the ploughing, and this
Yeah,
idea has been in my mind for a long time because
right.
I've known people through the years that are in this position. I've never really traveled or immigrated myself. I didn't have to. I didn't feel the need to. Okay, but I
Right.
met a young lady, at the ploughing, and she was doing a bit of she was giving out leaflets and things. I got talking to her, and she was about 26, and she looked like one of those people that I'm just talking about. She looked completely
Right.
lost. She had no ancestors, no connection to Ireland whatsoever. She came all the way from Australia. And I felt she was about 26. I was talking to her and I thought, you know what? You're a lost little soul and you're running from something. She was running to be seen.
Right.
You see?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the funny when you like the ladies are the ones that suffer if they're neglected, and in these places they are, and it's like in a lot of families all over the world that happens, and we hear about wars and all the rest of it, and there's too much time spent on it. The best thing is to just ignore it and pray for the peace there, instead of analysing it to death as they do in the media and even in EWTN. And I just have to turn it off because there's only so much of this stuff that you can put up with. But the lady you were talking about, yeah, it's a mystery. Ireland would have a good image abroad by way of being a friendly country and Keith Míle on this, but it's a bit of a misnomer in some ways. It's like every other place. You have to sort of, what was the call it? You have to adapt and try to integrate if you're in this country. There's opportunities here for ones that have any kind of an education or experience and that. And the fact that she was down there, would she have been employed by that company that she was involved with?
Yeah, she was employed by the company. She was living in the city centre, and I said to her, "What brought you to Ireland?" And they said
Yeah,
that she said, "Well," she said, "I just decided, I'll go to Ireland." And I said, "Okay," because it's very, very far away from Australia. And I just got the impression that maybe she was from my conversation, I spoke to her for about 20 minutes, and I don't want to go into the details of what she told me, but the thing about it is she told me a lot of things, and my assumption then afterwards was that this poor fragile young human being, that she was actually running from something and probably from her own family to get recognized by going to the other side of the world. That's my
mm,
assumption when I left her. I was
yeah, could
thinking about
very
her,
well be. Yeah, yeah, they would take these kind of like drastic steps, because Australia is a big place where you can go from one part to another and you're miles away, you're 1,000 miles away, even in the one country. It's so vast. And but to come a distance across practically the other side of the world, you're talking about a 24-hour plane journey. It might break for a bit someplace, I believe in Dubai or somewhere. But I mean, it's an awful journey for anyone to undertake. And but when you arrive in a country like this, how are you going to get fixed up, or what way did she approach it? Did she come with some money and then apply for jobs, or did she have a job even before she come? You never can tell, but you can tell that it's a long way from home, and it might be a story there, and so ladies, women suffer more from that than men. Men have a different, have a stronger,
I
what
tell
would
you,
you
one
call
thing
it?
she said to me was, I said, "You're working for a charity." And she said, "Yeah." And she says, I just felt that I wanted to work for a charity. And that told me something about her, that perhaps she was looking for a kind of a caring environment. Maybe she was looking for the charity became her family in a sense, the family that she didn't
Correct.
have back in Australia.
Very good. Yeah, exactly. Well, funny enough, when you're working for charity, we did something about Frank Duff, Lord of mercy on him. He'd be a saint, that started the Legion of Mary. The good that he did for people that were abandoned and had no hope, and he gave them hope. And so when you work for charity, you're actually giving people hope, and you're getting the same thing yourself. It's a very satisfying kind of a career or whatever, or if you're involved in that type of thing, and the way you were involved when you were young, you certainly did. You got great experience in the Morning Star hostel,
That's right.
making food for people. And so what I'm saying is that it's the same way when you do something good, then you're seeking something, aren't you? And that's the way to do it when you're doing something for charity, and something that has a good outcome, like what we're involved in at the Christian TV, that we're hoping to have a TV station that we can do the good that we're fit to do while we're still on this earth. And you couldn't be asking better, because you'd be very much involved in it, Oliver, more than me, because I'm on the wrong end of the
Yeah.
top of the tree, you know. But I mean, I'm still fit as a fiddle,
You are
and
indeed.
I'm not suffering from anxiety, neurosis, or anything. I'm just, thanks be to God, always trying to look at the positive. And I think when you're aiming for something and it's good, you're going to get there.
That's
That's
it.
my belief.
So there we go.
Yeah,
I thought it was
we
an
get there.
interesting subject. I'm glad we've covered it. And to all those people
Yeah, I'm
all
glad
around the
you did.
world, yeah, that are trying
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
seen, hopefully they won't be invisible for much longer.
yeah. And we'd give them a bit of advice is just accept yourself the way you are and pray for those that might have neglected you. That's the solution. Once you do that, it's lifted.
Thank you
That's
very
the
much.
advice that I give anybody that might have carrying this cross. There's no need to carry it. And the best way to do it is this prayer, and sort of praying for those that inflicted that on one, this neglect and in being invisible. Ladies suffer more from it than men, but men suffer from it as well. They don't escape it if they feel that they weren't acknowledged and asked their opinion about anything. Maybe told to shut up, something like that, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
not everybody can take that type of thing. But the thing is that the best way to do is to pray for the ones that did that, and then you have this great relief. And that's what we'll be doing, because we'll be meeting a lot of people that's down and out at the moment, living up on the street and all the rest of it, and getting a night in a shelter or something like that, provided by the like of Morning Star and all these other places, the Dominicans that provide food for them and all the rest of it. So there's a lot going on that we don't know anything about. Merchants Key does a lot of work too for people that have been addicts, to bring them back to a normal life. So these are all the things that we will be looking at and trying to help in our own way. And this is the experience that we have in life. I've certainly had me ups and downs, and so I can know what it's like to try and help people, give them hope.
Thank you very much, John.
Thanks very much, Oliver.